Hello and welcome to this Philbert Flies review of SimArc's Islamabad airport for Microsoft Flight Simulator. You join me on approach to runway 28 left, and I'm starting with an approach to give you a good look at the surrounding area and the opportunity to gauge the performance of this add-on on my system. My system specs and current graphics settings are down below in the video description. Additionally, there are two things to note during this approach. The localizer is slightly misaligned and the PAPIs are not functioning properly. The runway 28 right localizer is also broken, but the runway 10 right localizer is fine. Don't let this put you off though, stay tuned because there's a lot to like about this airport. For now, I'll leave you to watch the approach in peace, and I'll join you again at a gate when we'll have a good look around this airport together in different weather and lighting conditions. Welcome to Islamabad. We're parked up here at gate 9, and to start off with we'll have a look at the jetway connecting. Pretty perfect, I think you'd agree. And let's move on to having a look at the texturing and modelling of the terminal, beginning with this custom jetway. So initial impressions are really quite good. There's a few geometry issues with this door here, but by and large the jetway model's really nice. I love the weathering up here, the rusting. And we've also got transparent glass in the jetway, which you'll see is nicely tinted, and from the inside it retains some level of tint, so that's very good. There's one large Y-shaped passenger terminal at Islamabad, and it's been modelled very nicely, I'd say. If we get in close, you'll see that we have transparent tinted glass across the entirety of the terminal. And the textures in use outside are pretty crisp. Let's pop in and have a look at the interior. So this is really rather nice. It's not the most detailed interior that we've ever seen, but what has been included has been modelled very nicely. We've got seating, we've got signage, and the textures used are pretty high resolution. Very nice. My only criticism is that the windows don't retain their tint from inside, but there are very few developers who have managed that. The 3D sign further along the terminal building looks very nice as well. There are a few jagged edges if you get super close, but from an aircraft cockpit perspective it looks absolutely perfect. And the resolution of the textures used in this sign is very high as well, so no blurriness and no pixelation. The textures used beneath the windows look very crisp, and the signage looks very good as well. The cargo apron is slightly less impressive. We've got a distinct lack of the typical ground clutter that you'd find around a cargo apron. And also we've got some satellite imagery here, whereas I really would have quite liked to have seen a little bit more custom ground texturing going on. But nonetheless, the building itself is done quite nicely. The modelling's great and the texturing is pretty high resolution. This is the general aviation apron, and it's nothing to write home about, but having compared it with the Google satellite imagery, it seems that the real-world general aviation apron isn't much to write home about either, and the ground markings and lighting seem to match the real thing pretty closely. A number of peripheral buildings have been included in the scenery, and this fire station is a good example of one. It looks really very nice. Once again, we have excellent quality modelling and texturing, and I really like the 3D fire engine models outside. The air traffic control tower has been very nicely modelled and textured. We do have a few jagged edges here and there, but by and large the quality is very good. We've got a lot of detail included, such as these air conditioning units, and nice crisp weathered textures throughout. The ground textures here at Islamabad are absolutely fantastic. They're really sharp, they're nicely grubby, and they just look very, very realistic. The materials used appear to match the real-world airport quite closely, although the colour matching with some of the surfaces, such as this tarmac here, is perhaps a little bit off. But nonetheless, it's pretty impressive. The ground markings are very nicely done too. They're slightly grubby, slightly faded, and having compared them with the satellite imagery, they appear to match the real-world airport pretty perfectly. My only criticism really is these jagged edges that you get around the taxiway edgeline corners. A lot of work has been put into the landside areas, and these look really very good indeed. There's a lot of custom modelling, custom ground textures, nicely populated car parks, and the terminal entrances look really good as well. If you're into having a little nose around in the drone after you arrive at an airport or before you depart, there are plenty of levels and interesting little features to explore here. I'm really impressed with the interior modelling of the check-in area. There's a lot of detail here, and I particularly like this mosaic up on the wall. Here's Islamabad by night, and I have to say I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I've had a look at some photos of the real airport by night, and I'm happy to say that this looks very close to the real thing. The green is perhaps slightly overdone in places, but the real airport does look pretty green. The floodlights are the correct colour and create a very realistic looking glow over the apron, and the lit terminal interior looks exceptionally good. Nighttime is a great opportunity to properly appreciate the interior modelling. The only things I don't like are these luminous luggage tractor things which stick out like sore thumbs, and they could really do with a quick bit of retexturing. The landside areas also look great by night, as does the cargo apron and terminal. And the runway and taxiway lighting is very good too. Here's Islamabad in the rain, and the ground textures look very nice when they're wet. And while the transparent glass windows don't get shrouded in mist as they should, they don't look as bad as completely clear untinted windows would. So SimArc's Islamabad, what's the verdict? Well, it's got some disappointments, but it's also got some really outstanding features, and overall, I think it's a pretty good add-on. In terms of negatives, the broken localizers and PAPIs are probably the only two that I consider significant, but the positives definitely tip the balance in this scenery's favour. The terminal building looks superb thanks to top-notch modelling and texturing, inside and outside, landside and airside. The ground textures are incredible. The runways look great, and the included peripheral buildings are very nicely done as well. For those of you who, like me, do most of your flying in Europe or North America and fancy a change of scene, I would definitely recommend considering Islamabad as your next destination. I live streamed a flight from Dubai to here a few weeks back, and I really enjoyed it. The landscapes around here are spectacular. And for those of you who are local to Islamabad and regularly fly around here, it's clearly a no-brainer. Get it. So that's it. I hope you found this review useful. If you did, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you'd like to and can afford to, donate via Streamlabs or buymeacoffee.com. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon here on Philbert Flies. Take care. Bye bye.